Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
They're in the computer?
This is getting out of hand.
Wow!
Strange things are afoot.
Over the potatoes!
Listen. You smell something?
Hello and welcome to the Clear History Podcast, where we talk about all the crazy weird stuff that we came across while we were working.
Or on the toilet, whatever, it doesn't matter.
You got to keep your YouTube feed just flowing with all the craziness.
I agree.
I'm your old pal Steve, and with me as always is...
Hot Hands Megan.
And today our guest is actually my boss, Shawn.
Hi.
Were you also searching weird things at work?
No, never.
Well, we're pretty sure that the boss above us probably won't listen to this, and if he does, he probably won't really care.
No, probably not. Maybe.
He might be impressed with our wide range of knowledge.
He should be impressed with all the things that we can get done at work while also diving into these deep dives.
Well, speaking of deep dives, my dive this week may have been a little bit too much for my psyche.
Oh, no.
I decided I'm listening to too many true crime documentaries, so I decided to just look at, my weird alien stuff that I normally look at. And a recommended video that came up was regarding the Mandela Effect, which I believe you both have heard of. I feel
like everybody's maybe heard a little bit about it.
Right, like I had heard a little bit about it, and I had heard about the whole Nelson Mandela thing, and I also remember Nelson Mandela dying.
Yeah.
When I was younger, but I'm also terrible at history.
I feel like I was too young for it to really even be something that I'm thinking about when What year was that?
83.
83.
Okay,
yeah.
so I was so young that I was not even alive for 7 years.
Right. So, I never really went into it deep. I decided to go into it deep today. So for anyone listening, the Mandela Effect is saying that there are a certain set of people that remember slight details in life differently than what they actually are.
Mm-hmm. And the first example is...
No, so that's why it's called the Mandela Effect. So there are a set of people that remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison rather than becoming president for a year and then dying later in 2013. Mm-hmm. And the first time I remembered hearing about that, I thought it was weird when I heard that Nelson Mandela died in 2013, because I went, whoa, I thought he died a long time ago, but...
Yeah. I mean, I was 7 at the time, so I mean, I wasn't super old, but I watched a lot of TV. So, I mean, I remember seeing things,
Yeah, I don't know. But the whole premise is people believe there are either these alternate realities that some of us have lived in, or that we all lived in. The most logical explanation for it is that we have a collective misinformation or misremembrance of things, but I don't know that I completely believe it.
Or if you think about how the news works,
how they influence us.
Well, I mean, it's basically you get a snippet, right, of a story, right. Like a headline or a splash thing. It's only gotten worse as time goes on with the internet and stuff, because nobody reads the actual article; they just read the tagline and then.
They don't even read my Instagram post.
So you're constructing your own reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. And I think we always have been, to some point, but.
So I think there are different explanations, and one of them is pretty deep and has to do with the CERN and the large...
I thought you were about to say Berenstein Bears.
Well, we're going to get into some Berenstein Bears stuff. But look up the Mandela Effect if you want to. You can read more about the theories behind it. Today, I'm just going to ask you several questions to see what you remember and if anyone else has a different way of remembering things. So the biggest one would be Nelson Mandela, obviously. Mm. The other major one that people talk about is the Mona Lisa.
Mm.
I remember she had a slight smirk, but it was the debate was, is she smiling, is she frowning? And that's the interesting thing about the painting, is that you don't really know what she's doing. Also, you don't know where she's looking. Is she looking ahead? Is she looking to the left or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always kind of thought that it was, she had the look of, I just farted.
Right. Yes. Yes. There was always that debate of, is she...
Farting.
What is her expression? Is she farting? Does she have enough fiber in her diet?
Yeah.
But, now there's no debate. It's she's smiling. What is she smiling at? Also, the debate of, I remember the biggest thing, too, was who was the Mona Lisa? Mm-hmm. People didn't know who she was. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, apparently now it's always been known who she was.
Really?
She was the wife of
the Count de Lisa.
something like that. Francesco de something or
Well,
other.
because you had to have some sort of scrant to be able to.
They said
Get
La
Da Vinci to paint you.
Was it Da Vinci?
Cando,
Yeah,
wife of
right.
Francesco. Anyways, just some
Da Vinci
well-known
wasn't poor.
Leonardo da Vinci.
You had to, you know.
But
Right, but
little
they're-
known fact, what she was smirking at was Da Vinci was a known nude painter.
Oh,
You didn't know that?
now I do.
I didn't know that either, but it sounded all right.
It sounds a little Mandela Effect over here.
Okay, so that's
Mandela fucky, I think.
Mandela Effect. It's one of the major ones. The other major one that Steve mentioned is the Berenstain Bears.
Yes.
Is it an A or an E? Berenstain or Berenstain? And it
Me
was
being
always,
a terrible speller, I don't think that I would be a good source.
me
for that.
being a meticulous speller, it was Berenstain with an E.
Steen. I was always Steen with an E as well.
Yeah.
I read a lot of those books when I was a kid, and it was always with an E. Apparently it's an A. But
I'm not gonna say the correct version is an A. I'm gonna say in our current reality, it's an A.
it's an A.
Oh, in this universe.
So that's the other major one. So I'm gonna ask you guys a couple more questions, and we'll see what your answers are. Okay, Steve, what color is the Pillsbury Doughboy scarf?
Blue?
Blue.
It's white. It's never been blue ever.
I'll have to check my Pillsbury Doughboy action figure I have at home.
Of course you would.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow, although
He's a sailor.
Yeah, he's a
But
sailor.
he has a sailor little blue
He's
thing
just a
on.
sailor in a town looking to have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
Okay, next one. Who fell down the well? Lassie or Timmy?
Timmy.
Timmy always fell down the wall.
Right, but in our current reality, Lassie fell down the well.
No, Lassie came back and barked and said that Timmy fell down the well.
I'm telling you that in our current reality, Lassie falls down the well. Stop searching while I'm talking. You're just gonna accept what I tell you right now, because I already did this.
Oh, Jessica McClure Morales.
I already searched and I
That's sad. This is like a real Who Fell Down the Well. This is...
Okay, stop it.
Yes, do not Google who fell down the well. That was
Okay, next
It's
one.
Never Timmy.
Yes, Alice in Wonderland. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. What was on top of their hat?
It's a flower, like a daisy.
They actually had propellers. Most people
Ah.
say it's a propeller or a flower, and it's actually a flag now in our current reality. I don't remember
Oh,
that.
like the classic the kid with the...
Okay, I know, Steve, that you don't know much about Star Trek, but Shawn, this isn't a question so much as did you know that in The Next Generation, in our current reality, Jean Picard has a crystal in his hand in over 80 episodes? And I am an avid Star Trek watcher. I grew up watching that show. I have seen every single episode numerous times, and I do not remember him ever holding a crystal in his hands.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all.
that's a thing. That kind of
that's
changes
weird.
him.
Yeah.
Let's see. What island is the Statue of Liberty located on?
It's its own island, Statue of Liberty Island.
Okay, did you ever hear about the Statue of Liberty attack?
That one I had not heard of before, and that's
Wait,
weird.
with Mysterio from Spider-Man?
No.
In
Supposedly,
the
yeah.
1916.
The Nazis attacked the Statue of Liberty, and that's why we can't go into
The
the
torch.
anymore.
And
I
supposedly...
don't think it was Nazis. I knew that it was terrorists, but I don't think it was,
It was-
Nazis.
No, it was Germans.
1916?
It was not... It wasn't the Nazi party,
Well,
but it was
Germans,
Germans.
the dang Germans.
Yeah, and it was apparently...
That's fucking Reich 2 right there.
Reich 2. In current money, it was $500 million in damage. And none
No,
of us
I
have
did
ever
hear
heard
that.
of it.
I heard about
I
that.
had
Right,
never
but
heard of
when?
it.
But when? As a,
In the last 2 years.
In the
two
last
2
2
years,
yeah.
right. Another big one is C-3PO's leg is silver, his right leg, which I don't remember, and I am a huge Star Wars fan.
I remember it being silver, but that was in my last, 5 years viewing type
Right,
thing.
I'm talking about as a kid.
I feel like it's just shit memory.
Now, was it silver before they jettisoned off of the ship down to Tatooine?
They are saying it was silver the entire time.
Because I kind of thought that when the Jawas picked him up,
He got a little hurt.
he got hurt, and
In
he
6.
he had found a different leg, like in the junk pile with the Jawas.
Well,
I
when
just
was
need to
when was
rewatch
he
now.
backpacked by?
That was in
Chewie,
Empire
That was
Strikes
in
Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
Well, because the other thing is that I looked at that, we were talking about this earlier today, and I looked at that, and it was saying that even though the silver leg was silver, it was reflecting off the sand on Tatooine
So it
or
looked gold.
his other leg. But in the spaceships, it's all white so you can notice. But otherwise, you don't really notice.
Okay, what color, Steve, were Hitler's eyes?
Blue.
Sean?
No, they weren't blue. They were brown.
Yeah, that's what I always
Didn't he
knew.
have
They were
cute
brown.
little blue eyes?
He actually, in our current reality, did have blue eyes. But I remember, like, that was the
Well,
thing.
because he was Jewish.
they were
His
saying-
master race was supposed to be blonde hair,
But he
blue eyed,
didn't
but
have
he didn't
blue eyes.
have
That was
those
the thing
features.
we
Oh
were
yeah,
always
that's
told.
the thing. That's
Yeah,
right. No,
but now
okay.
he has blue eyes.
That's right.
When did that change? Or was that just a misinformation from when we were younger? But
Now
the
that
thing.
he says that you're supposed to have blonde hair, blue eyes, but that he didn't.
That Hitler didn't. That was the big thing.
He had
Brown eyes.
black or like brown hair.
Dark brown eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brown.
I don't know about his eyes though. I don't remember the eyes.
But I remember specifically.
I never looked longingly into a
No.
psychopath's eyes.
No. Well, and plus all the pictures I ever seen were black and white, so it's really kind of hard to tell.
That's true.
I mean, we could go down to Argentina and ask him.
Okay, let's see. Here's another one. Tom Cruise in Risky Business. What does he wear when he does the dance?
He wears a tan button-up shirt, long sleeve, and underpants, and long socks.
I thought it was a pink button-up shirt with white underpants and white socks.
Yeah, white underpants, white socks. What color is the shirt?
It's pink pinstriped. And
No.
yes, and everyone remembers white shirt or off-white shirt with sunglasses. But
No,
he
I don't
doesn't
think
actually
about
wear
the sunglasses.
sunglasses.
No, not
he doesn't wear the
sunglasses.
sunglasses. That's another one. I think that one's just people misremembering. Okay.
Well, it's also people
Nah,
people who cosplay it or like wear it for a Halloween
Yes.
costume.
I think that's the problem
Like they're
because
just wearing whatever shirt they had that's button up.
I was seeing things like a lot of things was like people are. I will probably remember the Simpsons version of anything before the actual version of anything. So that's what's fucking me up.
But I don't never really watch The Simpsons.
I watched I know it all.
Does
Until
the-
season
did
14.
I
the-
watched way too many.
Until 14 at least.
Does the Monopoly man
Have a
monocle?
Monocle, no.
I absolutely remember him having a monocle.
I do remember it, but I mean, people change.
You know why?
companies change crap like that all the time.
But they haven't. They said he's never had a
You know
monocle.
why
They're
though?
filthy liars.
The Monopoly man in Nature Calls has a monocle.
Right, every interpretation of him has a monocle.
Why
Why is that? All right,
Do not pass go. Do not collect $500.
I'm gonna leave you guys with one of my last ones here is a fun one. Would you sing Safety Dance for me? The main
Oh,
part.
You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind.
But if your
because
friends
if they
can't
don't dance,
then
wait,
and they don't dance, then they ain't no,
no
friends of mine.
So that's how you would
if
sing
they
it too?
can't
You can
dance.
dance if you want to. I was
You
born
can
in
dance.
You can dance if
1990.
you want to.
Okay.
You can leave your friends behind. All right. Well,
And
actually,
if they can't
in-
dance and if they won't dance, then
in
they're
the
no friends of mine.
In our
You can
current
dance.
reality, it's they can dance if they want to. I can see your face right now, and you click. You're very angry. They can dance if they want to.
I
they can
watched
leave
that.
their friends.
I
It doesn't
watched
make
that
sense.
video on MTV every damn day because I came home and it was on, and I watched that delightful little midget in the jester costume jumping around everywhere.
Yes.
That's
So-
why whenever you see Shawn with a saw, he's wearing fucking safety glasses because he knows the safety.
I know this. Did you actually know that the safety dance was actually written about safe sex?
You can dance.
Not-
Yes, if you watch it, it's an
Oh.
orgy.
It's I'm
Dude.
putting my finger through
Yeah.
a circle in my other hand.
Well, the
Yes.
safety dance is
I can
you
see.
dance by yourself.
You
That's
can
the
dance if
safety
you want to. You can leave your friends behind.
Yeah.
But if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine.
True story.
So you can
Dance.
jerk off if you want
Dance.
to.
Everybody, look at your hands.
Yes.
Oh no!
no. Funny thing, a lot of songs in the 80s were about masturbation.
I think I'm turning
Yes.
Japanese. I think I'm turning
Yeah.
Japanese. I really think so.
You can dance.
So-
You can dance. Can you please go wash your hands?
Because
Because that's the way I remember it.
That's the way I remember it. Please go wash those hands.
Wash your fucking hands.
I know what you were doing in there.
I think the the safety dance is the one that got to me the most. There are several other out there. Just go search
Oh.
Mandela Effect.
I feel like a lot of these are like 80s things, and I'm a 90s product.
Well, you might listen. I have an older brother, and I feel like that influenced me a lot because I've probably seen a lot more stuff than you have. But
Yeah.
it really
I
jarred
have two
me.
older sisters, but they're not.
This stuff is
the difference like
this
yours,
stuff really
brother.
jarred me.
Like,
And,
yeah, my brother was 6 years older. My sister was 8 years older.
Yeah, you're
so,
the young boy too.
So I was a young boy, but I mean, the 80s was like
The biggest thing that you're saying with the
I mean, you were
Mandela...
actually in the 80s.
I was.
You're a little bit older than us.
A little bit older.
The Mandela effect you see, though, what's happening is not
There's a
not
lot
so
of
much,
cocaine going on in the 80s.
Not so much the kids, the millennials, the kids of the internet. It's not so much that, but you're seeing people who were born in 70 or whatever, seeing these Mandela effects who have not been around the internet the way we have and are just like, what
Well,
the
you know
fuck? What the
Because Back to the Future happened in the 80s.
Yes, this is still so true.
So,
Time crime.
Time crime. That's my solution to it. It's a time crime. If you feel like getting more into it, go look at CERN. I think that they are the gateway to the Alps, also in the gateway to hell.
So the time crime is the theory that in the future, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but it's supposed to be like in 2026 or some shit, they invent the time machine, people start going back in time, but it's government regulated, and you're not supposed to go back in time. Only certain, top level people can go back in time. But what's happening is that there's people going back in time and fucking it up.
Making tiny changes.
And so what happens is, as you know, from Bill and Ted and Back to the Future and all the other stupid adventures that don't make any sense, it splits the time continuum into multiverses. Also, multiverses could probably be in existence anyways.
Yeah.
Or the super big hadron collider is causing minor tears in
But
our
also, let me
reality.
finish my theory, because maybe the multiverses, maybe there's a little bit of like soft spots in them, and certain things pass, so that's why some people think that Shazam was a movie, and other people say it was only Kazam.
It was Shazam and Kazam. We're not getting into this argument again.
Shazam and Kazam.
Shazam existed. A million of us cannot be wrong.
Yeah.
And Onyx is spelled with a Y or an I.
And Pikachu had a black stripe on his tail.
So
Those are some other ones.
And
maybe
it was Jiffy, not Jiff.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe-
even asked my mom that one.
my theory today, well, it's Jeff. It's just Jeff.
No, it was
It was
Jiffy.
Jiffy.
It's always been Jeff.
It was Jiffy.
Peanut butter, Jiffy. I did find this really unique guy who has a blog. I will link to it on the website. He believes that you can akin all of our realities to chords on a harp. And so when you make different decisions in your life, you jump from different timelines. So we're in a constantly fluid motion.
Actually, I did read a long, extensive article about a guy, and there's YouTube videos out there that you can look that tells you how you can actually alter your reality that you're living in. And I actually tried it once. It's a glass of water effect, right? So you take a glass of water about half full, you set it on the table, and then you have an empty glass, and you look at the glass that's half full, and you focus on it, and you decide what kind of outcome you want to happen in your reality. So say, I want to be more active, I want to be more energetic, and you focus on this glass of water, and you breathe in, you breathe out, and you do this for a considerable amount of time, and then once you feel confident with it, you pick it up and you dump it in the other glass. And that act of thinking about that action and then dumping it into the glass has now changed your reality and altered it. And you will thus...
Motherfucking chaos magic.
Yeah, Steve and I got chaos magicked into dating. And
We did.
we got totally chaos magicked.
So this guy we were at the bar for the first time
Out together.
our first date, and this guy's like, you guys look like you're in love, you guys look like you've been, or whatever, what did he say?
You guys are just so happy and in
You guys
love.
are so in love, and we're like,
Did he then follow up with the champ from Anchorman's whammy?
I don't know, but he
I don't know,
chaos magicked us.
chaos magicked us, and
So, I'm okay with it.
anyways, that's the Mandela effect. Don't get in too deep because you won't get out. What's some fucked up shit?
Alright, time to pay the bills. Here is a message from our sponsor. Have you had encounters with the paranormal? Is there something haunting you at night? Is it in the basement? Is it really big? Check out Big Fucking Ghost Removal Services. I had one big old ghost filling up almost half my basement. It was knocking over my Christmas knickknacks and taking up too much darn space. Thanks to BFG Removal Services, I can finally build me the tiny train set of my dreams. Visit us at bfgremoval.com and use offer code MyGoodness to receive 15% off your next big fucking ghost removal. All right, Shawn, what did you bring to the table this evening?
Well, I kind of went down this rabbit hole, and this is a tale that your grandpappy probably didn't tell you, of course, unless your grandpappy was a Choctaw Native American.
Well, who was it?
Well, mine was half Cherokee and Chippewa.
Half Cherokee Chippewa.
He's a one of a kind.
Was he an Indian outlaw? So this is a thing, and it's recently popped up. I've seen it in a lot of different things around the interwebs, but it is about the Bigfoot Human War of 1855.
Oh my.
And kind of the gist was this took place in a region that is in present day the United States between the Oklahoma and Arkansas.
What?
Yeah.
The Indian Territory at the
The
time.
Indian Territory at the time. It was once the mighty Choctaw Nation of Native Americans ruled, and the battle took place here, presently in McCurtain County Wilderness area. So present day, if you go down to the McCurtain County Wilderness area, this is where this took place.
After you stop at the crossroads, I would assume.
Yeah.
And
To
sell
sell
your
your soul
soul.
to the devil.
Sell your soul.
And then you can go to the site of the Bigfoot human
We're gonna
war.
end up having an awesome road trip.
I'm so
It's going to be
excited.
amazing. So, and the other thing is this kind of links up that there is a sacred Choctaw mound that is in Mississippi, and they still revere it as a holy place. And we're going to circle back to that here later because it's very interesting. So
There's a lot of things in Mississippi.
Mississippi that are interesting. So we'll go into this. So how did this start? How did this this thing start? Well, apparently there is a scourge of unseen bandits that were raiding villages and stuff and taking food, and then they started taking children. Right? So this,
From the Big Feet?
no, from the humans.
Okay,
The
okay.
human Native
No,
American
yeah.
settlement, the Choctaw
Okay.
tribes. So what happened was there was this young captain named Joshua Lafleur, and he was a half French, half Choctaw, which was actually well accepted in the Choctaw Nation. They like to intercultural breed as it went.
Sure.
Yeah. He went and he gathered up this band of Choctaw warriors that were known as the Light Horsemen. So, of these Light Horsemen, the biggest one, the leader, was a large, towering Choctaw warrior by the name of Hamas Tubi. And he was rumored to be 8 foot tall, and he had 6 sons that went along with him too, that were all over 6 feet tall.
Were they incredibly hairy?
No, they were not. But they were very large.
Were the result of angels fucking women, human women?
Maybe.
Were they
Angels?
We'll get to this here in
The
a
giant-
bit.
the
We'll get to
giants.
this in a bit because I
It's in
know
the
where you're
Bible.
going with this, and you may be onto something. But so basically, he gets this party together. They go just barreling off because they're pissed off.
Wait, so who's the giant?
The giant is a guy by the name of Hamas Tubi. And the article that I had said that was actually written by a man named Hamas Tubi. So there is a historical figure of this name during this time period.
Wow. That sounds...
This captain, Joshua Lafleur, also lived during this time period and died in 1855, which we'll get to that here in a bit. So anyway, so they take this search party out. They're pissed off. You know, kids have been stolen. They're pretty angry. So they go riding, and they ride for 14 hours straight, just going across all this place. And they get to this place where the raids were known to be most active, right?
Okay.
As they pull up to it, the Lafleur pulls out a spyglass, and he's scanning the horizon, and he sees some movement down in this tree line. And so he thinks this is the bandits. He's like, guys, get ready to go. We're going to go in there, and we're going to, whoop some butt.
How cool to be alive in that time.
Wouldn't it be something amazing?
Fucking bandits,
Just
man.
bandits and stuff. You're just going to just go in there and just mess some people up. So they go charging across this thing, and they bust through this tree line into a clearing, and their horses start freaking out, and the Indians are like, they can't control them because they're all like puking because the smell in this clearing is horrible.
Well, it smells like Sasquatch.
It is Sasquatch dick.
Smells like Bigfoot. Dick.
Smells like Indian food.
But it was also
what is it?
It was also dead bodies.
Oh.
Right? So they
Rotting
find
corpses.
this huge mound, like a burial mound, or it's a big mound, and it's covered with dead bodies. Right? And on top of this mound is not bandits, but giant, hairy monsters. So, without even thinking, this Captain LaFleur, he actually gets his horse under control from, it freaking out, and he rides in and he attacks one, and he's shooting it with his pistol, and he's slashing it with his sword, and is a battle going on, and this monster freaks out, kills his horse out from underneath him, grabs LaFleur, and rips his head off.
Oh my god.
Have we decided that it's a Sasquatch, or do we not know?
We don't know. It's a hairy monster, is what the reports were.
Okay.
Right?
Very tall, stinky, hairy monster.
Yeah. So, rips his head off, and this all happens in
seconds, probably.
seconds, right? And so all the other ones, the other giant Choctaws or whatever, the Tubay kids and the dad,
who are also large,
who are very large, didn't have time to react, right? So they see this captain, who they greatly admire, get his head ripped clean off his body, and so they freak out and they just open fire. And the reports say they had high-powered rifles, and so they killed most of the Sasquatch that were there. And then some other ones ran off, and the guy who ripped off LaFleur's head tried to get away, and one of Tubay's sons chased him down on foot and cut his head off with a Bowie knife.
Jeez, that's a lot of head
and then
chopping.
they sat there and they braced themselves because they thought that they were going to get attacked again by the ones that ran off, right? Because you're thinking, no, they're going to come back, and it never happened. The other Sasquatch never came back, and so they buried the dead, and they burned the Sasquatch.
Waste. They could have. We could have known.
We could have known. So
in 1855, we still wouldn't have trusted it.
yeah,
Sure.
no, probably not, because it would have changed.
So it's not like a really
Somebody would have
really-
time crimed it and fucked it up.
It's a really crazy story to make up.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right?
So crazy.
So I
just
looked
like
into it. I
work.
started doing some research, and I found this guy named Dr. Tukio Nashoba, who's an author and a researcher, and he does some Bigfoot research and stuff like that. But he came out and he's like, this is a fanciful story, and it sounds all well and good. He goes, but here's some points, right? He goes, as this story has been passed around, the bandits turned into man-beasts, and the man-beasts have turned into Bigfoot, right? So it started with bandits, and so now it's that.
They
So
might
the
have just been
place-
hairy Turkish men.
So, yeah. So the place where Joshua LaFleur was
Yes.
killed means looking for killers in Choctaw, right? So that's what his researcher he did. The giants from the story, as told in Oklahoma and passed down for generations, were white men,
Ah, so the
Fucking
white men
not-
were bandits.
Sasquatch. But they were not hairy biped apes, but white. But they could have been large and hairy.
I've seen some large, hairy white men.
So
Yeah, but like
the
these
original
are like
Oklahoma-
English and French and Spaniards. Like they're not the hairiest
Well,
people.
but listen to this. The original Oklahoma legend states that these giants were actually Viking descendants.
Ah, from the north.
Another point that he brings up is that the weapons that they were talking about them using, they were saying that they were using high caliber buffalo rifles.
Mhm.
And really in that time period, the U.S. Army would not have given natives high-powered rifles to use.
Okay.
They just wouldn't have. They would have had maybe musket loaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's some holes there, right? So and then I watched this thing on PBS just the other night too. That was about the Vikings, and there's a Viking account that they talk about the natives of this new world that they found that they called the Skrellings, right? And the Skrellings were natives, and they tried to set up settlements on this new world that they found, coming from the Newfoundland, which is up in Canada, and they eventually left because they first started trading with these people that they found there, but then they started warring with them, and they came to the conclusion that, while this is a very beautiful place to live, it is has people that live there that can defend themselves, defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this is in Viking texts. Like, this is a great epic journey type thing that talks about this. So we have it on the Viking side, that they interacted with natives of this new place. You have it on the native side that are talking about it in their thing. So it got me thinking. So I started researching even deeper, right?
Oh my god.
I looked into...
It's going to be a long episode, people. Get ready.
Get ready. Put your boots on. So what I found was I started looking into the Choctaw myths, right? And said, okay, because, a lot of native cultures, when you talk about Bigfoot, they talk about them as a spirit animal, and it's not necessarily something to fear.
The wise
right?
mountain man or
the
something.
wise mountain man or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking into the Choctaw religion and superstitions and tried to see, did they have anything on this? And they did have a Bigfoot in their thing, which was called the Champy.
Okay.
And the Champy was a giant hairy ogre thing that stunk to all heaven, right? And they were scared of him, and he lived in a deep, dark cave. And they would come out at night, and they would, steal women and children and stuff like that. And it was kind of a don't go out at night, and always watch where you're hunting. And if you're hunting, always leave a small animal if you feel that you're being followed by a Champy, and they will go and eat the animal and leave you alone, right? So this goes into their behest. They also believed in little people of the forest, which was interesting myself. That I thought was halflings or gnomes or whatever. But
Okay.
they had a whole religion or a superstition about little people of the forest as well. So then that got me looking at other legends, and I found one.
Getting deep.
Getting deep here, people. So the Champy is a malevolent ogre-like monster of the Chickasaw folklore. It attempts to abduct women. So there's that. And then there was a little story about the legend of Nanhi-Wai Cave Mound. It was a mysterious underground realm that the ancestors of the Choctaw lived in, and their battle with giants. Right? So this is a legend of the Choctaw. And it's about the Indians of the Mississippi. Have a very interesting ancient legend about the Nahi-Wahi Cave Mound, and this is the mound that I talked about when I started this. That's still in Mississippi. That's still a revered spot for this tribe.
Mm-hmm.
The Indians tell that once, very long time ago, their ancestors emerged from an artificial underground world, which they considered to be the homeland of their ancestors. Deep in the earth.
Hollow Earth.
Hollow
God.
Earth.
This is
Damn
a hollow
Hollow
Earth.
It's all Hollow Earth.
It was the time that the Choctaw Indians were invaded by a race of red and blonde-haired, white-skinned giants.
They were red because they had
These
sunburns.
Huge men were dressed in thick skin and carried weapons such as axes and sharp clubs.
Fucking Vikings.
Fucking Vikings.
Garrett's people.
The horn and wore horned helmets.
Okay, that's a lie.
That's
No!
racist.
No, because
No, it
Vikings
is a lie.
did
They
wear
did wear-
horde.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, could it have been the Vikings? I don't know. Some other foreign people. Of
They
great
might
stature.
have, though.
The Choctaw are descendants of the peoples of the Hopewell and Mississippian cultures.
Can you just say it correctly? Mississippi.
Mississippi. So yes, the Nania Waya is a 50-foot tall natural geological formation and is located in central present-day Mississippi. Mound is said to have been built by the Hopewell people about 1,700 years ago.
As homage to these.
No, they lived in it.
They lived in the
Yes.
It's the hollow.
The Great Mound.
It's not
Hollow
There are
Earth.
several natural openings, some of which have been sealed up, but the Choctaw Indians say these openings serve as entrances to a vast, unknown underground realm
Jesus Christ.
that was inhabited by their ancestors. When the white giants with horns attacked their people, their ancestors were forced to hide inside the mound for generations.
Wow.
So then they emerged out of that after generations, and they fought off these enemies with sleeping darts and poison darts that they made out of the
That's pretty
mushrooms they
badass.
found it.
What's the other Hollow Earth entrance in New Mexico?
And Devil's Hole, the
So
Mount Shasta,
here's
Mount
the other.
Shasta, that's in California. What's the one that we listened to in the podcast?
Dolce.
Dolce.
That's
and
in New
then
Mexico.
fucking Nahani. There's one
Nahani.
there.
So here's the thing too. Is
Earth is hollow, people.
after they came out and got free of there, they still respected the area, but they had a little fear about it too.
my God.
They say the mount is inhabited by several supernatural beings.
You're ruining my story.
One of them is the Champy, a hair-covered human-like giant who has a terrible odor.
Okay, so it's housing Bigfoot and aliens and Vikings.
And Vikings in the Hollow Earth.
And now I want to travel to it. I think that your story is not bullshit because they killed something.
Mm-hmm. And somebody killed somebody else.
Something killed somebody else.
You know,
I've
credible resource, one of our best presidents, the starter of the Moose Party, Teddy Theodore Roosevelt, actually had, he wrote a bunch of books, and one of his books included the Bowman incident, which was a big Bigfoot story. So, I don't know. Bigfoot human war.
Are you an eco-conscious, animal-loving leather daddy looking for a vegan alternative for your vests, harnesses, chaps, hats, and other accessories? Check out PleatherDaddies.com, where we provide everything except the mustache. All of our products are 100% cruelty-free for a clean conscience while you're getting your kink on. We take the cruelty out so you can put it right back in. For a limited time, receive a free cock ring with your order using offer code No Chickens Were Harmed.
North of British Columbia, and near the Yukon Territory, is a place called Nahani National Park Reserve. And this place is steeped with folklore and mystery. This park is surrounded by majestic peaks and dotted with geysers, sinkholes, deep canyons, caves, gorges, and primeval forests. This area has been inhabited by the Dene people for over 9,000 years, but they've been afraid to settle the valley there because they believe it to be an evil, haunted place inhabited by various spirits, specters, and devils. Sometimes
Spooky.
the Dene people would venture to that area when desperate for food, only to never be seen again, most of the time. And for the people that came back, they'd tell of a spirit who would make the men vanish like smoke in the wind. His unearthly shrieks echoed through the canyons in the night.
Sounds like a good time.
So, this is just the old folklore.
Okay.
Legends tell of a race of tall, hairy men,
Bigfoot.
man-eating giants known as the Nakani, who dwelled in caves during the day and hunted at night. The Dene were terrified of them because they stalked them through the forest, watching them at night outside camp. Hunters who left camp at night would be snatched up and never seen again.
Were they also smelly?
Never really spoke of the smell. Up there, it's a little bit.
It's a little colder, so they don't sweat as
It's
much.
not that fucking swampy nasty.
Yeah, you
They
don't
got
get the
swamp ass.
Mississippi.
the swamp ass.
The Bigfoot in the South get swamp ass.
They do.
So this is some of the legends that have been in that area, for thousands of years. But so now white people come there. They came to this region and heard the legends of the Nahani Indians, and the Nahani were a reclusive people, hostile to strangers, and slaughtered anyone foolish enough to trespass on their lands.
So the Nahani were
The people of the valley that the Na were afraid of.
okay,
The
but they were
Dene.
big and hairy.
No, it doesn't say that.
Okay.
So this place is scary because there's these big hairy people maybe, and then there's like these
These
savage other Indians.
Stabbing each other Indians. Okay.
But they don't really ever really see them, so what do they know? So not many people went there until after the gold rush in Klondike, which is a big fucking deal, which is actually really cool that you guys should look up the Klondike gold rush. Mm-hmm. It's actually pretty sad too, but a lot of people looking for the next big rush were like looking around and try to just pan whatever was up there because they're like, hey, fuck it, we're already
dying up here,
practically dead. So most notably were the McLeod brothers. They heard rumors of gold being in the Nahanni Valley and went there mining.
Like Duncan McLeod?
McLeod.
McLeod? Oh, okay.
It looks like
Fox
McLeod. But they
There
went.
could be only one.
They went there
Duncan McLeod,
and they
yes.
were never seen alive again.
Okay.
So 3 years after not hearing from them, their younger brother organized a search party, and after several days of scanning and traveling into the valley, they found the brothers sprawled out, headless, on the bank of a
What
river.
is with this headless stuff tonight?
This is the Valley of Headless Men.
What?
Mm-hmm. So, the heads were never found. Like, they looked around a little bit more to find the heads, but it was just bodies without heads. So, like, that makes you think, like, it wasn't just, like, bears. And, like, the bears and the other animals would have eaten the bodies. They wouldn't just take the head.
Clearly, it was the predator keeping the skulls.
Ooh.
Or is the Nahanni people.
Or it's
I mean,
Bigfoot.
I'd keep a skull for a bowl.
Yeah.
It's like a nice decorative piece.
Skulls4bowls.com.
Skulls4bowls.com.
So,
Turn that skull into a bowl.
Turn that frown upside down.
So yeah, so now ever since that happened, like there was no name for this valley before, and so the McLeod brother Charles, the one that wasn't beheaded, the one who started the search party,
Sounds
he
like a
named
Highlander
it.
thing to me.
Yeah.
He named it Headless Valley. So now it's known as Headless Valley. So for some reason, this sparked rumors that the McLeod brothers did find gold and that their rich mine was out there somewhere, and that the reason why they were found headless was because another miner, not somebody under 21, but a miner looking for gold,
Old prospector, they called him. I am Prospector Pete. I'm going to cut your head off.
cut off their head.
Okay,
to
so you're
steal
telling
their
me the last name was McLeod,
McLeod.
and they were all beheaded,
Yes.
just like in Highlander.
Just like an Highlander.
This is
There
very
could be only
suspicious,
one
'cause it-
brother McLeod.
This was like 1790s.
Well, yeah. But
the way I remember Highlander,
See, you went back all the way to the
Motherfucking
all the beheadings.
Mandela Effect in you.
I'm Prospector Pete. I'm going to cut your head off. Well, come on in now.
About 100 years later, Martin Jorgensen went to the valley to pan. And he had a pretty nice operation going there. He built a cabin. He knew a lot of people around there. People knew that he was there. And yeah, he had like a sweet cabin set up. And then all of a sudden, under mysterious circumstances, his cabin was found burnt down. His skeleton found, which would have been in the cabin if it wasn't burnt down, among the ashes with no skull, and no skull to be found.
Head's gone. Highlander.
No head. Then, in 1945, Ernest Savard was found dead in his sleeping bag. No head.
So like hundreds of years of no heads.
Of no heads.
I mean,
well,
this was late 1700s to 1945.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, Wookiees rip off arms, and Bigfoot rips off heads.
No, because you said in your story.
Yeah,
So
he
this
ripped off
probably
head.
kind of connected.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've never heard of the Bigfoots ripping off heads.
Wait a second. Here's one. Trapper John O'Brien, around the same time, 1945-ish, was found frozen to death gripping a pack of matches next to a spent campfire. Witnesses said it seemed like he was flash frozen. Like he was in the middle of doing something. He was just like...
But he had a head.
And he was next to a campfire.
He had a head. He had a head. But it says by 1969, the numbers.
He no longer had a head.
44 people had vanished mysteriously in this valley. So, it's the Valley of Headless Men. Other phenomena such as mysterious lights, UFO, Sasquatch, bear dogs, maybe a secret entrance to Hollow Earth, or also thoughts of a thin spot in our dimension that might cross to other dimensions. People ripping shit off, running home. Look at the souvenir eyebrow. I don't know. The other thing is, like, why is this a national park? Most of it hasn't been explored. Maybe it's a secret military base. Maybe it's...
Wait, has it not been explored because it's not allowed to be explored, or because people are too afraid to explore it?
The Canadian government hasn't done a proper survey like they would usually do in most other ones.
Probably because they want to keep their heads.
Oh, maybe because they don't want to freeze their assholes off because it's fucking cold. It's subarctic. It's cold. And this is like in the middle of the mountains in the Mackenzie region, and it's crazy, but like it's kind of weird, like all this crazy stuff that happens in this particular region. It's been like known to be like a super creepy, spooky place that the Deneb people never wanted to ever go there.
Yeah.
So
well, you see someone with their head ripped off, you don't ever want to go back there.
See, that's the question though, because it's like,
we talk
was
about
their
getting
head
heads
chopped
cut off a lot on this podcast.
Was their head cut off or was it ripped off? Is it a Sasquatch or is it an axe squatch?
An axe squatch. Is that a Sasquatch that uses a lot of axe body spray?
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. So it's a completely different type of stink. So you got the swamp ass stink, and then you got the axe body spray stink.
Alright guys, here is your 5 fast facts. Number 1, Montezuma's revenge is when he get diarrhea from traveling to Mexico, caused by drinking the water that you're not used to.
Or too much tequila.
It has a little bit of E. coli that
between your cheek and
travelers will not be used to. There's other forms of it that, like, from different, like, Bali butt and stuff, like, depending on different conditions of different places that you're at. Anyways, so 2, elephants.
That's called the Bali barracuda, though.
Oh, elephants react to humans the same that humans react to puppies. They think we're cute.
Aww.
And some psychopathic elephants want to drown us.
And we do tricks.
Hey! A McDonald's Big Mac is 563 calories.
Gross.
That's that. A third order lake island is an island in a lake on an island in a lake on an island. And the largest one is on Victoria Island in Nunavut, Canada. East of what I was just talking about.
East of the Valley of the Headless Horse.
The place that nobody wants none
No
of.
horses.
You want none of it.
None of it.
Actually, that's like the least populated area of Canada.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. I bet they're not on ChristianCanucks.com, but they should be.
Speaking of least populated and too north to want to go to, number 5, North Dakota wants you to join their Best for Last club. If you tell them at the visitor center that North Dakota is your 50th state, they freak out and they give you a t-shirt, a certificate, a picture by a sign, a pin, a magnet, and you get to sign the Best for Last Club logbook. So they're really banking on being the least interesting state.
All right, well, thank you for your fast facts, Steve. We're going to talk about my additional search terms for the week. This one kind of relates to Steve and Shawn's topic for today. It's hairy Turkish men.
And the
Could have
women
been the whole time. And the women who love them.
Please search it. Probably not at work, not safe for work. Okay, number 2, the Big Clapper. You will not be disappointed.
That sounds infectious.
It does.
Yes.
It sounds like something the Big Bopper had. You what?
This is the Big Bopper speaking.
And number 3, ground beef midget wrestling.
Oh.
Now is it midgets that have been turned into ground beef that people wrestle in?
You're going to have to search it to find out.
Alright. Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your search history weird, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, are you tired of eating your Cocoa Puffs from a little kiddie bowl? Do you want a bowl that will strike fear in your enemies? they come to skullsforballs.com and hear the lamentation of the women. These balls are high quality, human harvested from sizes small to extra large. Go now to skullsforballs.com and use the promo code SKULLS5